Get him off. Get him off.
We're working, we're in the lab, and we're gonna make sure this happens as soon as possible.
Welcome to an episode of the Sports Genes Into the Lab podcast, where sports analysts and experts dissect the latest news from the NBA and NFL, giving you a unique view on some of the hottest topics around your favorite teams. From the fresh field smells of the NFL to the hardwood courts of the NBA, and possibly your comfy couch for your fantasy football team. Let's see what kind of news the lab is working with today. Here's your host from the Sports Analytics headquarters in San Antonio, Texas, Ernest Silva.
Oh, it's good to be back. Good to be back. What a summer it was. I am your host, Ernest Silva, in the beautiful Into the Lab movie studio in San Antonio, Texas. Joining me, as always, from season 5. That's right, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Last Call's podcast host, Chris Connor. What is up, brother?
Not much. We're already getting ready for a wild 2024 NFL season. We got trades going on, injuries. People are already freaking out with their NFL fantasy drafts. I mean, Ernest, you and I were already talking about the preseason game, a Hall of Fame game, and you and I were already looking forward to this season. So I'm excited.
No, I know. I jumped on Last Call podcast in the offseason. You could have caught me in there. And Chris Connor, we were talking Texans. We were talking some Cowboys. We were talking Hall of Fame game and some Bears. Chris Connor, it's good to be back. I missed it. I'll be honest. I enjoyed the break, but I missed it coming into August. I was like, why am I not talking football already? How was your summer?
It was long. I mean, you realize you miss football when it's like, oh, crap. You know, I don't get to the Olympics too much because of all the controversy. And then baseball runs a bit long. And then basketball and hockey end. It's like, oh, crap. There's not much to talk about. So I am missing football. I'm glad it's back finally. And can't wait for it to kick into the regular season.
I completely agree. We had a summer to remember. I got a lot to catch up everybody on. So stay tuned and stay listening. Excited to see so many of y'all back. I was worried everybody would forget about us. But Into the Lab here is for season 6. And it's nothing short of news and highlights. We're going to talk all about that in just a hot second. If you haven't hit that follow button or you haven't shared today's post, share today's post, comment. Anything helps. We studied up in the offseason. We know what it's like to trend. For some of our favorite guests on here, they've been popping through the Olympics, through some of these off-season things. We've seen some of our favorite guests come on and blow up. Denny Lennon's doing fantastic. Elias Funches has been fantastic. We've been watching a lot of the content creators that have come on ITL just completely explode. So excited. Lots of updates. And, of course, if you want to be a part of the magic, join ITL. You can join today. Hashtag What's in Your DNA continues through season 6. Join the Sport Gene, be a part of the show, a sports scientist, if you will, just like some of you who are watching already. And of course, you might know him as Just Luke, but Luke in the comments already making his ITL debut next week. Exciting stuff. Luke, we look forward to having you back. Soft opening, Chris. You and I are going to do this soft opening together. We're going to talk some quarterbacks today, and I'm excited to talk top 10 quarterbacks. Hear what your top 10 list is. I do have, and I'm going to disclose it early, I do have an honorable mention for that list. I do it every year. I get tons of shit about it. I'm going to have it again. I have an honorable mention. So have an honorable mention ready so you don't have to catch that by surprise. But let's talk off season. Let's talk off season. It was a summer to remember. We'll talk some headlines after the first commercial break. First off and foremost, Chris Connor, when we left off, the Houston Rockets, some NBA talk, right? The Houston Rockets selected Reed Shepard with the number 3 overall pick in the draft, and I have been nothing short of in awe of this young man making his staple known in the NBA Summer League. I know it's NBA Summer League, but Reed Shepard looked fantastic. I don't know if you saw the headlines or you've seen the highlights, but Reed Shepard has looked phenomenal. Have you heard about Reed Shepard in your neck of the woods, Chris?
I have not, but remember, we don't really care about summer league around where we are in Boston. It's like, okay, summer league happened. I guess it was a thing. It's like, okay, it happened. I guess whatever. Because remember, the Celtics won the championship, so the rookies, that we drafted, aren't going to be playing that much, if any. So it's like, but I guess Reed Shepard did pretty well. So I know for Rockets fans, they're all excited. You guys are. You're very, you're looking for the future. So this is, I guess, a good thing.
It was our championship. It was our championship, right? Like that was getting that pick, having him fit in like a glove. It was phenomenal, right? Like as soon as he showed up in that first game, I mean, most of Rockets Nation was basically like,
"Give me a hell yeah!"
Pump Sengun Shepard into our veins. We're going to win a championship, right? I don't think we're saying that, but we are saying playoffs, and that's exciting for Houston Rockets basketball. Some other news, though, right? The Olympics happened, and I mean, did it happen? Team USA looked phenomenal in lots of different areas. I'm not going to make fun of anybody breakdancing. That's not my thing. I actually empathize with the poor girl. I hope she just had a really bad day. But Team USA basketball, both men and women, fought off some French comebacks and won. I honestly thought the women's was going into overtime at first. I didn't see the foot on the line. And Victor Wembanyama looks like a force. The Alien versus the King was absolutely everything it entailed to be. Outside basketball, Chris Connor, was there anything else you absolutely loved watching from the Olympics?
I didn't watch most of it because I was after the opening ceremonies. I was so disgusted. I unfortunately couldn't do it. I do want to shout out to two young ladies first. Sarah Hildebrand and Amit Alor both won gold medals for Team USA wrestling. Amit Alor, 68 kilograms, a Jewish American who afterwards, in tears, went into the tournament basically as an unknown seed, ran the gauntlet, beat 2 world champions, and afterwards, shared the stories of how leading up to the game, she was still getting a lot of just hateful messages on Instagram about hey, I wish like you should have been in the gas chambers. A lot of this stuff that we don't see because of anti-Semitism. So shout out to her. Great for winning a gold medal, doing the country proud, and a spotlighting on what goes on, social media still that we don't see unfortunately a lot because look, we only see the positives right now in terms of sports and social media. There's a lot of negativity out there, and sometimes we got to keep our eyes on it.
Yeah, I think for me, outside the men's and women's basketball, I love watching track and field. It's always popular in my house. It was the first Olympics I could really get Lily into, and for those of you who know my 3-year-old daughter, it's hard to get her in anything, but she was all into the swimming events. So that was really fun to watch her. And we did watch some gymnastics. Shout out Simone Biles, Houston, proud, and happy to see that. I think Texas came in 8th for medal count, something like that. So happy to see Texas all over the board in general at the Olympics. Some big news for me, Chris Connor, and I guess a self pat on the back. Whoever did it, I'm not sure if it came from the real life job or if it's coming from this show and somebody was happy, but yours truly, now a Marquise Who's Who in America 2024 selection, part of the history books. So congratulations to everyone out there who supports the show, who supports me at work, and we're excited to have our name stapled there. So I appreciate whoever nominated me out there. It was a weird process. Have you ever heard of this award, Chris Connor?
I have not. No.
Yeah, very strange thing. I thought it was a gimmick at first. So I got a phone call. I haven't told this story, so I'm gonna tell the story. I got a phone call a couple weeks, actually, it was about a month ago now, and I thought they said somebody nominated me for this, and they said that they would like to have an interview process to see if I become a finalist. I thought, this is a gimmick. I might as well just give it a couple minutes and see what happens. Answered a bunch of questions, got the questions answered, and then within a week, I got another phone call. And I thought, okay, well, all right, when are they going to ask me for money, right? And which is basically what you do now. You don't really trust anything nowadays. And I do a second round of interviews, and I was like, okay, seemed a little bit more intense. There was a couple people on the phone call, and then all of a sudden, they're like, we'll give you a call back for the last round. We'll see, finalists get another phone call. So I expected not to hear from these people again. Still hadn't gotten asked for any money. Third phone call comes. I do the interview, and they're like, you have been selected. And I'm like, okay, here it comes. And they're like, congratulations. There's going to be a press release. We selected so many people. There's going to be we selected across America, only so many people, yada, yada. Some people get in. I was like, okay, where's the gimmick? And then I was trying to look up all these reviews online. It's like, people get nominated. You can nominate yourself. And I was like, okay, so when are they asking for money? Yeah, because people said they'd ask for money. I never got asked. So I was excited for it. They started sending me the press release. They sent me some of the official awards. I have some sort of thing coming in the mail, and I get a tag for all my signatures. It was really cool. My work got notified. It's just a really cool award that they select individuals who they feel are going above and beyond in society. And so I appreciate that. So whoever did it, I really appreciate that. Not a gimmick. For some of those who have reported it's a gimmick, they just want money. I never got that pressure. So safe to say, if you do get that phone call, take some interviews for next year. And congratulations to all those who receive this award in your communities this year. But yeah, how about that, Chris Connor?
I'm very happy for you. For all the work you put into this show, just in terms of what you do at home and everything. Congratulations, you deserve it. I'm very happy that you got some good things happen in your life.
Thank you. Yeah, it was definitely a summer to remember. However, it wasn't the biggest news. I think the biggest news for this household and for our show is that my son turned 1 and he's officially going everywhere, and he's talking and he's going crazy. And Lily starts pre-K. For those who follow, Lily starts pre-K. She got in. For those who know our story, right? We adopted our daughter 3 days old. She has grown to be basically the manager of the house and is smart as smart can be. And we were very nervous. We signed up to get into pre-K because she missed the deadline by like 11 days because she's too small. And we got the call late last week, and so she officially starts pre-K. We get to meet the teacher and everything tomorrow. Very exciting stuff for those who follow my kids' journeys. Appreciate you being a part of their life and growing. You guys have been with me for 6 seasons now, so you've obviously been with me before kids. Now you see me with these 2 kids. But very exciting stuff, Chris, and I am absolutely anxious and nervous, but excited at the same time. So kudos to Lily to starting pre-K. All right.
Yeah.
So in the summertime, Chris Connor, Mark and I got together. We're ready to do things. We're ready to get things started for everybody. We have some brand new promos coming out. We have some live interviews going. We did meet with a couple of college athletes over the summer. We're working through the details of getting those published PR-wise. I'm not going to mention who it is, but Capture the Flag is just my hint. And we're excited to announce that we're going to have a live series of interviews going into season 6. And let me tell you, the promos are coming. Mark is working on a doozy that we filmed together this summer. And we're going to have that sports scientist coat passed around the nation to see our sports scientists wear the lab coat. And the traveling coat's going to be one of our favorite headlines this year. Who gets that traveling coat will travel week to week. And Chris Connor, will you sport the sports scientist lab coat when it gets to you and take a picture? Will you finally do that for our audience?
I will try. I'll say that much. With everything going on with me, there's some stuff I'm working on here. I will try at least.
All right. Even if I get a headshot with the left, but I'll take it. I'll take it for sure. Dan's commenting in the comments. Good luck. Praying no parent conference until grade 2. Yeah, same here. I hope the kids are actually in good behavior. And I'll tell you what, I'm not worried about Lily as much as I'm worried about Trey. Trey's absolutely crazy. We're going to talk football right after this short commercial break. That's the update for ITL, how our summer went. It has been a doozy of a year. Excited to have everybody back. I mean, 50 of y'all joining us already live is phenomenal. It's football season, guys. Fantasy drafts. I have my first fantasy draft already this weekend, which I think is extremely early. But for those of you tuning in who may have caught our crypto updates end of last year, here's our update. We are still sporting the big three: Chainlink, Dogecoin, Shiba Inu coin. We are staying. We've hodled. We've gone through the summer. We've gone through the dips. We've gone through the highs. We're continuing to hold there. So please, if you're doing so, hold, pump, go into it. We are pushing those cryptos through this season. Those are our 3 to watch, 3 to grow with, and then turn them into some bets as you follow our bets throughout the year. ITL will have 2 shows a week. The first one being ITL Picks, which will be here Thursday nights, every Thursday night through the football season, all the way leading into the NBA when we'll switch to Tuesday nights. The Thursday nights, all the way through football season, ITL Picks will be our brand new show. And then our regular ITL Texas edition show will be on Sunday mornings. Excited to be starting our 2-show process, moving through. And Chris Connor, you ready to talk some football after this commercial break?
I'm ready when you are.
All right, let's do it. You all stay sitting right there. Go grab a drink, grab your notepads, because we're gonna have some doozy of a takes as we go over our top 10.
Jill going down the hill. Gonna go fetch Jack in his little pill. Jack feeling down and that's pretty bad. Let's go.
Oh! Yo! Clip that! Clip that headshot!
Nice.
No!
A pistol. What? Okay, that didn't count.
Woo! Let's go, baby! Clutch it up! Yeah, I like it!
What? No way! Did that precision just kill me?
Let's go!
Nice, Papa!
Papa with the clutch kill at the end. Let's go.
Oh, I missed. That was bad.
Got him.
Nice.
Man, I'm going to go steal their shit.
That is definitely green.
You're dumb and it's orange.
We're both wrong, red.
I could get that solo if I tried it a couple times, but we'll come back to it.
I'm fucking dick right now. Holy shit. Like, I fucking suck right now.
Yeah, I can go.
That's the BCMG stream team. If you haven't checked out, some of those streamers still going very, very strong. Watched Malabar the other day. I know Young Kakarot's still going strong. I saw him go live. Go check out most of those streamers. Coach Peanut, you'll catch right here on ITL. Mostly every single night we have a streamer going. But again, ITL Thursday night, Sunday mornings, you'll catch us on here. Podcast release Friday and Monday, respectively. All right, Chris Connor, we're going to talk football, but before we get right into our round 2 top 10 fantasy quarterbacks, let's talk a little bit about the headlines. First off, in your neck of the woods, Judon's gone. Judon goes to Atlanta for a 3rd-round pick. I have an update from Steve, the General Reisner, but Chris Connor, your initial reaction to seeing this trade?
It was it had to happen. I mean, Matt Judon wanted to get paid. He wanted to get an extension. And the Patriots right now, they're just in a bad place. They have no offensive line. They have no speed at wide receiver. They have a quarterback who's not ready. Their coaching staff is with a guy who's never called offensive plays. They need draft picks. So look, Atlanta was desperate for pass rush. They had lost their third-round pick in the offseason due to a torn ACL. From what I've read in the reports, Terry Fontenot is going to try to make a deal before the start of the season, get an extension. Atlanta's a Super Bowl or bust. So look, it's a good trade for the Patriots. They got at least a third-round pick. A lot of people thought they wouldn't even get like a fifth-round pick for them. So kudos to the Patriots for getting this done and getting it out of the way and not letting it fester as the season wore on.
Like, I'm not sure if it's a Mayo problem or if it was a Judon problem. It feels like Judon's been having some issues for a while now. Steve, the General Reisner, says it was time for him to go. The locker room, you didn't need that in the locker room, and he's glad they got a pick as well. I thought maybe you'd get a player back as well with him. I mean, he's an all-pro, right? He's a talent. I mean, he was considered one of the best in the league just 2 seasons ago. For me, Atlanta goes in on a guy who is going to create chaos and do what he needs to. Hopefully, the locker room stays calm with him. I like what Atlanta is doing. I think they've got clear roles now, and hopefully Kirk Cousins takes that quarterback position to another level as well when he's healthy. For New England, I think you're absolutely right. I do have a question for you. I'm not the New England expert here on this channel right now. So for you, Chris Connor, is stuff awry with Mayo so far, or does it just feel like it's tank job, get some more talent, and then we're going to see what Mayo really brings? I've had mixed feelings when I'm seeing some of the Mayo issues happening with practices.
So let me explain Matt Judon. So last year he started off strong, and then he tore his lower bicep. And he's in week 4. He's out for the season. So he comes in, and this season he's watching. All of a sudden, hey, they extend Barmore. They extend Christian Barmore. Hey, they threw big money at Michael Owenu. They threw big money at or tried to get Brandon Ayuk, but they missed out. They threw big money at some of their own players, with the exception of him. So if you're Judon, you're looking around going, hey, look, I want to get paid. But he's 32 years old.
Why not me?
And
right.
I think if you're unfortunately for Gerard Mayo, he is a defensive-minded coach. And unlike, as we said, we talked a lot with the Houston Texans, and I knew you ad nauseum like to talk about CJ Proud, of course, but with DeMeco Ryans, people forget he brought in Bobby Slowick, and Slowick was a guy who fixed the offense right off the bat, and they had that relationship coming in, so that helped DeMeco worry about the defense and having the offense taken care of. Mayo didn't have that. Mayo looked for a bunch of offensive coordinators, struck out earlier, tried to get Nick Caley, didn't work. Tried to get Robinson for the Rams, didn't work. This was when he finally got Alex Van Pelt. It was like the 12th guy they interviewed. It was the only guy that basically said yes. So look, Gerard Mayo, I think, has been caught in just it's a bad team. Ownership doesn't really want to spend. Not much talent. And then with Judon, it was he wants to get paid. He wants to get a contract extension. Ownership doesn't want to extend the guy who's not going to be part of the long term. This is what happens when you're a coach of a bad team and you have players who want to get paid. When they don't get paid, they throw a hissy fit. This is what happens when you are now part of a bad team.
And I like that segue, because that segue is going to lead us into another topic right now. It's going to be near and dear to my heart. But I do feel for Mayo. I think he comes into chaos in New England. There is not a lot of talent on that roster. I think it's like a Stevenson or bust right now for New England. They'll need to really, really attack the draft and draft well. I like to segue that, and thank you for that insight, Chris Connor, with the Last Call podcast, joining on ITL in our soft opening debut for the NFL season. But Dallas having an issue as well. The Dallas Cowboys at a stalemate right now with CeeDee Lamb, although both sides seem to be a tad bit more positive in recent days. And with Dak Prescott, which is same book, different chapter. 4 years later, for Dak Prescott having issues with finding that number and restructuring that contract, both players seem optimistic. Micah Parsons right behind him. Chris Conner, do you see a little bit of that same issue happening with the Dallas Cowboys and with keeping their stars, this trifecta of stars?
Yes and no. It's different because it's a playoff team. So as much as they want to, convection moan, when you're winning, all of a sudden it cures all wounds, and everybody's focused on getting the playoffs, getting the Super Bowl ring, and for them it's like the one last hurrah. And CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott, no matter what, they're gonna get paid. It's not like they're aging players who are looking at like the one final contract, one final payday, and then they're screwed. I think CeeDee Lamb looks and goes, okay, well, if I don't get paid, I'm just going to hit the market and I'm going to get paid. So it's win-win for him. Bigger question is going to be this: Houston Texans, Stephon Diggs, will he start kvetching when he doesn't get enough targets, when he doesn't get enough catches? He's a free agent after this year, so. Last year, everything was hunky-dory with the Texans. Everybody's singing Kumbaya. They're holding hands. As we saw, it was everything is wonderful in the land with C.J. Stroud and with D'Amico Ryans. How does Ryans and Stroud handle Stephon Diggs, who is now the first ever diva in Houston?
Yeah, I think I like the fit of Diggs in Houston personally. You could guess probably why. I think the extra weapon will help Stroud take his talents to the next level with the year two league. He was already performing at a top level, one of the best rookies in NFL history at the quarterback position. I enjoy what Stephon Diggs did in Buffalo, what he did before. And I'm excited to see how that fit's going to work, especially when that ball is going to have to be shared, right? There are a lot of mouths to feed in Houston. I do think that Diggs walks in the offseason because the progression of the rest of the receivers in Houston may be too much, and he may want to be singular or go play for a team that needs it, like maybe the Los Angeles Chargers or somebody who may need to be revamping and needing a number one wideout after this season. However, switching back to Dallas real quick, and just to give my 2 cents on that, right? I think that the quarterback salary cap is a real thing. So I'm going to make a hot take here. I'm going to say Jerry Jones may be playing chess while the rest of the teams are playing checkers in terms of how they're going to structure that contract because of that quarterback salary cap and the additional roster spots to give money leverage to players like Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb. I think he's working out those numbers and figuring that out. Might be a little bit of kind of sinister working the magic before everything is released, which I wouldn't put it past Dallas. But I think that may be going to affect. I see some comments around Dallas. I'm going to go back to it. Dan saying Prescott gets hurt and loses leverage. Scenario playing here. We'll sign for $40 million with the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. They got a couple of guys on there that would want to say otherwise. I have a hot take on Justin Fields. I am not giving on this show today. We'll save that for a different week. But that would be crazy. And he also says that he wouldn't be surprised if Lamb is traded, Coop cut trade for a top receiver and a first rounder. I would be surprised. I think CeeDee Lamb's part of the future of Dallas. I think that the Dallas Cowboys are going to pay their 3 guys and then make everybody else work around them. That would be my prediction. It happens pretty soon. Micah may happen during the year. Dak may happen sometime in the year, but CD really soon. CD has to get paid. He won't play unless he gets paid. And he's back on the practice field, which means he knows it's coming up. Last but not least, before we start with our top 10, Chris Conner, what is happening in Minnesota? Like, everybody is getting hurt. And if you haven't been following, J.J. McCarthy's now hurt. Jordan Addison got hurt today. I believe they had 6 injuries to 6 starters leading up to this. What is happening in Minnesota? And do you believe they upset the football gods? And do they need to take back their skull for the season?
Well, this is why they put. Unfortunately, what happens in preseason? Sometimes you play the games, and sometimes guys get hurt. It's terrible. Jordan Addison's injury, they said, might not be that bad, so that's the blessing. Unfortunately, J.J. McCarthy out for the year. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, for now, it's Sam Darnold's job to keep. But if you're Minnesota, do you kick the tires on Ryan Tannehill and bring him in? Do you look at maybe Taylor Heineke, see if you can bring him in on a trade? Do you break glass and try to see if the Patriots are willing to trade, dare I say, a guy like, can't believe I'm saying this here, but Bailey Zappi, like somebody who you look and go, okay, well, in case Sam Darnold gets hurt, somebody we can bring in here and like make sure we don't have to put Nick Mullins in there or somebody else that's just hot garbage and ruin the season, because they saw what happened last year. So look, this is just football. There are no football gods. It's war of attrition. Unfortunately, we saw with Minnesota, it hit early, and J.J. McCarthy just learned. Unfortunately, this is the NFL, and you get hurt early sometimes this year.
Yeah. I think that a lot of luck plays into it, but this is just some rotten luck. Sorry, Minnesota, for the early one, but maybe a Case Keenum reunion might happen. Maybe a Cooper Rush.
I do got some breaking news for you. Some breaking news for you, Ernest, regarding your Dallas Cowboys. If you would like some breaking news.
Absolutely, launch it.
The Dallas Cowboys right now are trading for the New York Giants. They are acquiring defensive lineman Jordan Phillips. I don't know what that means. It's going to be a pick swap in 2026, a 6th rounder for a 7th rounder. But hey, already, Jerry Jones is making some moves for the defensive line. He heard you in the offseason. He's going, man, that defensive line couldn't stop anything for run defense. So he's getting some more beef. He's getting beef on the defensive line.
Jordan, you said Jordan Phillips?
Jordan Phillips from the New York Giants, yes.
I think he used to play for Buffalo. He's not bad. That's a pretty good defensive lineman. And you said we gave up, what, a 7?
A 6th rounder, yes.
Oh, a 6th rounder. Okay, that's not a bad trade. So a 6th rounder for Jordan Phillips straight up
in 2026. Yes,
former. He said pick swap.
Before that, played two stints for Buffalo, a stint for Arizona. He's a big body, not much of a pass rusher, but he basically can stuff the run. So yes, they got some beef. I know that you were saying last year, oh my God, they can't stop the run. They can't stop the run.
Definitely.
Now we're gonna be able to stop the run, hopefully, maybe.
But that adds some depth. I'm glad they're making that trade. It sounds like they're moving things around. That's good. Front office is not asleep, so got to enjoy that. But good pickup for Dallas. Dallas will continue. Not every day you see an in-division trade. That's kind of rare, right? Especially between the Giants and the Cowboys. So kudos to the Cowboys. I like it. If you're in the comments or you care, comment what grade you give that for Dallas on the initial reaction. Jordan Phillips going to Dallas in a trade for, I believe it's Jordan Travis and a 7th for a 6 is what I'm hearing. And it also hears that the Bears and Texans were also in the Judon sweepstakes but got outbid by Atlanta. So some other breaking news there. Look, the people are here. We have 63 people watching us right now. We'll have more listening to us, Chris Connor. Let's give them what they came for. Some of y'all won your leagues by taking our top 10 quarterbacks last year because you believed me on Dak, who did finish top 5 for most leagues. Let's talk to you guys about where we see he's finishing this offseason, and let's talk top 10 with our main introduction. Special shout out to Mark Guajardo, the video expert of ITL. Let's roll. All right, we got the top 10 QB list, but first we do honorable mentions on here. Who didn't make your top 10 but is an honorable mention? Chris Connor, who is it for you?
Just not making the list for me was, I can't believe I'm saying this, Justin Herbert. Not because he's not top 10 talent. I just don't think there's not enough offensive around him this year. So it's going to be a down year for him just because he's going to have to carry everything. And man, they're really basically just struggling over there in LA Charger territory. Offense is going to be brutal. It's going to take Harbaugh some time, but I love, as I said, I'm a big Herbert fan. Just there's not much around the cupboard, and also I'm not ready to just crown the Bears Williams yet. I know Caleb Williams. Everybody says he's the next big thing. He might be, but that offensive line scares me for the Bears. I think he's going to be good. I think he'll win probably rookie year, but I'm not ready to count him top 10 just yet. So those guys just fell in my top 10.
Chris Connor, you read my mind. My honorable mentions Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is going to have a stupendous year. I have a hot take for the end of tonight's show that I will release. So if you're listening, you're part of the 64 still watching us and listening to us, stay tuned. I have 3 hot takes at the end of tonight's episode. You want to stay for those bonus hot takes brought to you by Blue Collar Media Group, who is our official sponsor of Season 6. Join the sports division at Blue Collar Media Group today. All right. Caleb Williams, I believe, will have a stupendous year. The weapons around him just are phenomenal. Bring in a rookie wideout that's going to play great minutes. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. You have Cole Kmet still there, plus the other 7 tight ends on roster, and then brought in Swift. I just think it's just set up for Caleb Williams to be successful, and my hot take will come later. But let's go number 10. Let's do it like this. You do evens first. I do odds first. Chris Connor, so number 10 for you. Who's number 10 fantasy quarterback-wise in the NFL this season?
Jordan Love. I think just because they're going to air it out a lot, I think they're going to pull back on the running as much. And look, the NFC North, the NFC North is just wide open. There's not many defenses that are going to shut down Green Bay. I think Jordan Love's going to have to do a lot of just airing it out, come from behind wins this year, and I think you're going to see him take the next big step.
Well, that's a good pick. For me, it's a comeback story a bit. I'm going to see that come back on the rise, but I think the lack of weapons around him, depth of weapons, is going to hurt. I have number 10 being Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow with the Cincinnati Bengals plays in a tough division. I don't love the schedule, but I love if he's back to health. You'll see him. I hope he's still mobile. When he's a mobile Joe Burrow, he tends to be a bit better by 8 percentage points. I don't know if he's going to be mobile. If he's not, it's going to hurt. So I have Joe Burrow at number 10 to start off the year. I think he's a solid QB1 if you want to get him and get him a little bit later in the draft. Some people are really not biting on Joe Burrow in drafts. You see him running towards the 6th, 7th round in some leagues. I would take a shot if he's there. I think the loss of Joe Mixon will hurt. I think the loss of some of that offensive line power will hurt. And so you'll see him kind of stay in the pocket and stick it more often than not, especially if he's not healthy. So Joe Burrow at 10 for me. At number 9 for me, it's going to be a bit of a shocker to most. Some people love this man. And I think he's a phenomenal player, but I haven't seen enough yet. And I don't know what the status of that injury is. Anthony Richardson comes in at 9 for me. It's going to be lower than most lists, so don't at me. Number 9, Anthony Richardson. Mobile quarterbacks tend to run high in fantasy leagues. I get that, but he has to stay healthy, stay on the field. And when he plays, he was phenomenal, right? He started off the year, had minimal exposure, got hurt in the beginning, first quarter of the year, and then we saw no more Anthony Richardson. The Colts are a very good team. The addition of Adonai Mitchell and Jonathan Taylor being healthy, we'll see if that's going to eat into some of Anthony Richardson's takes and some of Anthony Richardson's numbers. I'm excited to see how this Colts offense gets put together. Not excited if they're in the Houston Texans division, but Anthony Richardson, with the slew of weapons he has and the opportunities he'll have, we'll see how he comes back from injury and that exposure. Anthony Richardson at 9 for me on ITL. What about you, Chris Connor?
I'm going Jared Goff. That Detroit offense that is firepower galore. They have Amon St. Brown. You got Jamison Williams. You've got, Laporta. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, they can put up 40 and not blink. And with Goff basically throwing a lot of touchdowns, very little interceptions, them relying on the pass with Dan Campbell loving to go for it a lot. Expect him to just continue just ridiculous numbers in the passing game.
Awesome. Where are you going with number 8?
I'm going with Dak Prescott. I think it's a contract year, and he is going to be determined to just stick it to Dallas. He's going to be determined to just have a big year, go out there and just perform incredibly. Just, put up big numbers, a lot of passing yards, a lot of touchdowns, and we're not sure what Dallas's running game is going to look like. It could be almost non-existent because we're not sure who the hell the Cowboy running backs are. So, yeah, give me Dak Prescott to basically have a big year this year.
I mean, Ezekiel Elliott is there. Like, we know that name. Not saying it's the Zeke of old, but we know the name, right? Like, he is there. But I love that. Good job on the number 8 pick there for Dak Prescott. I didn't go that direction with number 8, but I am going to go with an oldie but goodie on here. Matthew Stafford with the Los Angeles Rams. Again, another health issue. As long as he comes back healthy, I think he's going to be fantastic. The weapons are there. Puka Nacua. He still keeps a lot of his depth there. Cooper Kupp is still there. Where they go with tight end is going to be interesting. I'm not sure if Parkinson's the guy. I'm not sure who steps up in that regard. But Kyron Williams is going to be able to take off some pressure from him. Matthew Stafford stays healthy. We know what that arm can do. Going to be interesting how the Los Angeles Rams look and feel coming into 2025, and if they'll be competing. Their schedule is not easy to start off, and I'm excited to see just how competitive that defense can be, given the tough Seahawks team, the resurgence of the Cardinals, and how that division is going to play out. So Matthew Stafford at 8 for me. At number 7, I'm also going to be low on many lists for this. Number 7, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts with the Philadelphia Eagles. Our old Boo is over there, right? Kellen Moore calling plays now for Jalen Hurts. He still has his weapons. He doesn't have that Philly special there. We all know Kelsey retired. We'll see what happens with Jalen Hurts' touchdown efficiencies when it comes to fantasy. We'll see if this offense can click again. They were terrible to end the year. Really fell from grace hard last year. And will the real Jalen Hurts please stand up? Is this going to be the quarterback of fantasy that we love to see? Or is this going to be the pitch where you're thinking about who's my backup and when am I going to play them based on the matchup? That's what I worry about. The risk and floor is so much lower than most of these top 10 quarterbacks for Jalen Hurts. But the upside is that he has a much higher ceiling than some of these quarterbacks that we're going to still list ahead. And so that's what you get with a quarterback like this at quarterback number 7. What about you, Chris Connor? Might have you on mute, Chris Connor. No worries, no worries. We'll circle back. We might have some technical difficulties on the Chris Connor side of things, but let's run through my list here. We're going to go to number 6 next on the ITL top 10 quarterbacks. If you're just tuning in, we are going through our top 10 fantasy quarterbacks, and you need to take a look at this list. So far for us at number 10, Joe Burrow with the Cincinnati Bengals, 9, Anthony Richardson, 8, Matthew Stafford, 7, Jalen Hurts. Do I have you back, Chris?
I have you back.
I think I can hear you. It might have been a little wonky there. Try it again.
All right. Do you hear me now?
I got you. Who do you have at number 7?
All right. So I put down Matt Stafford for my pick. I think he just with Puka Nacua, with Cooper Kupp healthy, with that Rams offensive line being much healthier, and with Matt Stafford being much healthier than he was last year, this should be just for him a more explosive offense, and just in general for him, he should be putting up numbers like he was when they made a Super Bowl run.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's a great take. I worry to see how healthy he's going to feel and if he's able to get out of the pocket to avoid some of the rush. But I'm with you. I'm with you on that. That's a great pick. Number 6, Chris Connor, where are you leaning for number 6?
Jalen Hurts. I think just with the pressure that Philly has, and they've already talked about how this year during camp he's more of a pocket passer. The Saquon Barkley is making him more I don't want to say patient, but more acceptive to dumping the ball off in the flat, dumping the ball off and like for short yardage. I think you will see better completions. He'll be a better runner, and I think this year they might be more dynamic in terms of they won't be just chucking the ball downfield or waiting for him to roll out for a run. I think we'll see Jalen Hurts have a bounce back year, in basically stat wise.
Yeah, I love that take. I think Jalen Hurts does have those radical peaks and valleys, but I don't hate it. And again, these are going to be fluid. For me, number 6, somebody you've already talked about, Jordan Love. Jordan Love, for me, I think comes out, shows out, and leads the NFC North in that division with wins. I think to do that, he's going to need to be next level. And having Josh Jacobs in the backfield, having his slew cast of receivers come back is going to be huge for consistency for Jordan Love. I'm excited to see that offense continue to blossom. He got paid. He's happy. He's going to be performing at a high level for these first couple of seasons on that new contract. Give me Jordan Love all day. Probably going to be one of those league-winning quarterbacks for you. Sneaky outside top 5 pick when it comes to stats. And probably somebody you can find around the Joe Burrow timeline of drafting. I love that pick, and I do love their schedule compared to most in the NFC North. At number 5, though, this is where it gets talent up there. Number 5 for me, going to be lower than a lot. Josh Allen, the league is going to drop. A lot of people are taking Josh Allen as the best quarterback off the board. He has been for many years, but Josh Allen comes in at number 5 for me for the Buffalo Bills. No more Stephon Diggs. No more Gabe Davis. No more consistency from backup running backs catching. So no more Devin Singletary, no more Zach Moss. None of those regular names yet in Buffalo. You do keep the Cooks of the world, which we do love. James Cook here in San Antonio. We love that play when we talk running backs later on this month. But Josh Allen, to me, he's going to have to be the Swiss Army knife of, gods. He is going to have to do everything in Buffalo, which may be that upside, right? That's why the upside is so high. But if that offense is not efficient with weather, with the schedule, with the strength of schedule, it's going to be tough for a division winner schedule with this Buffalo Bills team, talent wise. And so I worry a little bit about that small regression at the beginning of the year, and if that's going to push him out of the top 5 quarterback wise. He will peak at QB1 at times, but will those valleys be low enough to keep him from top 5? I don't know. Personally, I see his numbers dropping a little bit. I don't see them falling from grace, which is why he's number 5 on the list. And I have Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills, number 5. For you, Chris Connor, who's number 5?
It's Joe Burrow. I think he'll be healthier, so I think that's always a key. We still have no idea what their running game is going to be because Joe Mixon is gone. But look, you have T. Higgins, you have Jamar Chase, you have a pass catching, core that basically can get open and go down the field. So until otherwise, I'm still going with Joe Burrow as a top 5 fantasy quarterback. He's just in at number 5 for me in terms of just what he'll do because I don't think he's not going to run the ball, but he's going to have some games where he's going to put up points. And remember, they have a very a 4th place schedule, so they're going to beat up on teams like the Patriots.
Yep, I completely get that. What about number 4 for you?
Josh Allen, number 4 for me, because he's still the do-it-all guy. He still runs the ball. He still will run for touchdowns. They are already moving away from Stephon Diggs last year as much. You still get the tight ends and Dalton Kincaid and Knox. You still have, a guy who is just built like a tank, so he's going to stay healthy. And until otherwise, Josh Allen to me is still a top 4 fantasy quarterback. He'll drive you nuts. He'll throw some there'll be some games where he'll throw like 2 or 3 interceptions and go crazy. And then he'll have that game where he just goes bananas and it's like, okay, he'll win an entire game for you. So yes, Josh Allen to me, the 4th best fantasy quarterback this year.
For Josh Allen, really, it's going to be, can you be patient, right? Like he's not going to have those star receivers out there. I guess he still has Dalton Kincaid, right? He still has some talent with Cook and Kincaid, and the wide receivers are just unproven for me. And what's going to happen with with Josh Allen and being patient again, right? The focus was watch your turnovers all year last year, and we're going to see that again this year. And can the talent around him get better? For me, number 4, and I'm actually really happy he hasn't appeared on your list because I'm thinking he's still yet to appear. So the 69 of you watching, it's CJ Proud for me, right? CJ Proud, Houston Texans, number 4, top 4 fantasy quarterback for me. He has all the weapons. He has Mixon, he has Diggs, he has Schultz, he has Tank Dell, he has Nico Collins, he has John Mechie. He's going to have any weapon he could possibly do and have in Houston. The backups even there are talented as well, coming from other teams where they were playing utility options like the Los Angeles Rams. I enjoy watching Houston Texans football so much lately because they've gone basically filling up their roster to make the run with CJ Proud this year. You can see sporting next to me my very own Joe Mixon jersey. I am a Joe Mixon fan. I have been for fantasy purposes. I draft him everywhere. Excited to see him in Houston, so he'll be riding along this year with me, right alongside me as we talk about any football topic here on this show. But I think CJ Stroud crosses the 4,000 mark easily when it comes to yards. I believe his touchdown ratio is to interception is going to be probably somewhere around the lines of 7 or 8 to 1. I think he's going to just light up in his year 2 leap as he was already up there. So CJ Proud goes in at number 4, which takes me to our top 3 quarterbacks here on ITL. And if you're just tuning in, all 71 of y'all, we appreciate y'all. This is ITL's top 10 quarterback breakdown. You missed our first 7. We're going to our last 3, top 3, and they're going to be different. I know one of mine are very different. Number 3 for me, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, number 3 quarterback. Last year, I told you he'd be 5. That's where he finished. I think he gets even better this year. The strength of schedule for Dallas in the passing defense is 28th in the league. He's already a great regular season quarterback. You can't doubt that. You can't come on this show. You can't make a point that tells me Dak Prescott's not a great regular season fantasy quarterback. I will prove you wrong in any facet. He is low turnover. He is high touchdown. He's high volume. He literally averages 302 yards a game. He is fantasy relevance. And Dak Prescott finishes number 3 for me, gets his contract, and probably has a first-round exit. And so we'll be Cowboys realists for today's show. But Dak Prescott in the regular season, phenomenal, has tons of weapons. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, a lot of the up-and-coming receivers for Dallas, like Tobert, have been fantastic this offseason. Can't forget Jake Ferguson's breakout, and the return of his best friend Zeke Elliott will just lead to better pass protection, which gives him more time in the pocket to do damage. The other thing about that, which you mentioned earlier, Chris Conner, is that the running game will be absent, right? So they'll lean on Dak. That hasn't led to wins in the past, but it has led to 50 pass games and 55 pass games. I don't think he's going to do that for 17 games, but we'll have to see how Dallas responds to Dowdle and Zeke being in the backfield with Vaughn already hurt. So number 3, Dak Prescott for me. What about you, Chris Conner?
CJ Stroud to me is the 3rd best fantasy quarterback this year. I think, look, they're going to pass the ball a lot more. Hopefully he will not get a concussion like last year where he had to miss 2 games, and that basically threw some of his fantasy numbers off. I think with a year more seasoning, a year more of getting used to the NFL with Stephon Diggs, with Joe Mixon, the sky's the limit for him this year. I think this year we might even hear, dare I say, like true MVP talk.
Oh, that's breaking news right there. That is a great take. I love that idea. What about number 2 for you, Chris Conner, as we lead our top 2 in the top 10 list for quarterbacks on ITL?
Oh, it's Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's just if it wasn't for the king himself, he would be the best fantasy quarterback right now in the NFL. He runs, he throws, he can go off, he can basically throw for 3 touchdowns, run for 2 touchdowns. You add in a running game that now with Henry as the power back there. Oh, it's going to be just scoring galore there in Baltimore. Oh, it's going to be delicious. Lamar Jackson now has more weapons he can stick a stick at. So Yes. Lamar Jackson right now is the premier second best quarterback of the NFL for fantasy.
I love the delicious take. I'm with you all over the place on that. Lamar Jackson is my number 2 quarterback as well for fantasy. Dual threat quarterback, will run the ball. Barring any sort of injury, will be at least 700 plus. Derrick Henry and him will be fantastic in the option they're going to run. I enjoyed Mark Andrews fitting like a glove. I think the wideouts will also take the next leap. It's a young core. They stacked up the offensive line. They're probably 9 deep on the offensive line. Defensively, they're going to be good. Like I stated, this is probably the favorite in the AFC North. And for me, it was a no-brainer, Lamar Jackson, and then, of course, our number 1. We're 2-1, respectively. I'll just put it on the screen, though, right? Patrick Mahomes is number 1 for both of us. I don't think it's any surprise, or maybe for some it's a surprise because some have Josh Allen or some may have Jalen Hurts. But Patrick Mahomes is my pick. The Texas gunslinger is and has been phenomenal, especially when he continues to get more weapons. I think the addition of Xavier Worthy to stretch the field and somebody who can actually catch the ball will add a whole nother level for Patrick Mahomes we haven't seen in a few years. And then the return of Kelsey, as long as he hasn't gotten married or hasn't been too distracted in the offseason with T Swift, I think the return of Kelsey and the Swifties will just add a continued relevance for this Kansas City offense. And then Isaiah Pacheco's continued development will continue to keep Patrick Mahomes as one of those top-tier quarterbacks. Mahomes is just next level. He is the what I like to call the Steph Curry of the NFL. He's chasing the GOAT when it comes to rings. So I think that Mahomes is the overall number 1 fantasy quarterback, and I probably don't have to defend it too much. But Chris Conner, if you want to add context a little bit more to that.
Last year, 27 touchdowns, and that was with an offense that was bereft of anybody that was a true number 1. What do? They bring in Hollywood Brown. They bring in Xavier Worthy. They also draft in a guy who a lot of people in Kansas City are talking about, Jared Wiley. So they can now go 2 tight ends with Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, or Jared Wiley, and all 3 of those guys can go out and catch passes. They've been working out a young guy by the name of Carson Steele, fullback, who also can catch passes. You add in that receiving core with Rashee Rice, with Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson, with Hollywood Brown, who's only going to miss a game or 2. And I know I've been saying this a lot. I'm guilty of it, but Justin Ross, he's going to come through a bit here. I'm telling you right now, Patrick Mahomes is going to come back with a force this year. Last year, they drove him nuts. This year, with an offensive receiving corps that might be better than last year. Holy hell, people, watch out. He's going to come back, and this is going to be the year that he just, especially the Raiders who compared him to Kermit the Frog, he's collecting scalps. I'm telling you right now, there will be some Raider scalps on the wall. Bet your ass on it.
Yeah, I love the take. I love the number 1 pick shared by both of us, and I appreciate everybody joining us for our ITL top 10 quarterback list. If you're still tuning in, if you want to hear some of the crazy three takes that we're going to do here on ITL, we're going to do 3 takes at the end of it and get Chris Conner's reaction to how crazy I actually am. Let's do our outro with the top 10 list. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. I hope you took notes. Big time top 3 for both of us. Let's see what those crazy takes are right after this show. All right, Chris Conner, to end today's show, I'm going to give you 3 takes I believe are going to happen this year in the NFL. You're going to tell me which one you think is going to happen the most, and tell me why I'm absolutely crazy if none of them you feel are going to happen the most. All right, bonus takes, week 0. Here we go. Top 3 takes from yours truly, Ernest Daki Silva on the Into Lab podcast. Thank you, all of you, 74 of y'all listening and watching. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you guys being a part of the ITL experience. Share, watch, comment, do anything you can to help with the show. Here's take number 1. And I told you I was going to have a take later about Caleb Williams. Number 1, Chicago Bears make the playoffs, and Caleb Williams becomes the first Chicago Bear to ever throw for 4,000 plus yards in a season. That's my first take for the NFL season, is that Caleb Williams is the real deal, the next big Chicago thing since MJ. Bonus take number 2. 3 rookie wide receivers will finish in the top 24 in full PPR leagues. Don't quote me on who. I can guarantee 2 of them. I'm not going to say their names yet. We're not going to give it away on our show. But 2 of them, I think, are going to be may even be top 10 this year. But I think at least 3 are going to be top 24 wideouts in full PPR leagues. And my third take, the Los Angeles Chargers and Minnesota Vikings will be competing in the bottom 5 all year long. I'm not saying they're going to be 0-17. I'm not even saying they're going to be 1-16, but they're absolutely going to be bottom 5. I don't know what's happening in Minnesota. I think this is a tank job. Personally, it's too much happening to be scripted. So I think at this point, you just got to fall with it and fall with grace. And Los Angeles, I believe, is absolutely a rebuild. Other than Justin Herbert there, everybody are unknowns on that offense. And the defense is nothing to write home about. So I think both of these teams, both of these fan bases have been used to winning, I believe they will be bottom 5 all year long, and we're going to be seeing them take some L's and seeing some other teams rise from grace. All right, Chris Connor, you had all 3 on there. Which one do you want to pick on the most that you believe will actually happen this year?
I think the only one that's I can actually see realistic is number 2, actually, of all 3 of them.
Okay. All right. So you think the wide receiver is going to be the one that comes through, huh?
Yep. And I'll explain why. Number 3, I don't see happening just because you look at Chargers, and then you know what? It's still Jim Harbaugh. He will not let that team just be bottom feeders. And Minnesota, you look at the team last year, and even with the quarterback room that was a mess, that was a hot mess. They still were 7-9. I mean, they were. It wasn't like they were just garbage team. They were still competitive. And look, I am a huge believer in what's going on over there with the coaching staff over Minnesota Vikings. They say what you want about the Vikings. Justin Jefferson. Yeah, sometimes he's a bit of a diva at times, but he can play. And then you look at the rest of that team, and it's sneaky good. They got some good young players in the offseason. Okay, J.J. McCarthy going down. Okay, that doesn't help. But you still got Kevin O'Connell, who I think is one of the best, brightest minds in coaching. You still got a fantastic defensive coordinator, Brian Flores. And remember, they have one of your guys who you were just crowing about last year as, hey, this guy should be a Pro Bowler. This guy should be, definitely Pro Bowler, and Jonathan Grenard. Well, he's now over and replacing Danielle Hunter. And it's still the NFC North where basically everything can happen. Like the Bears, for real, we're not sure. Can the Lions take a step back? We don't know. Are the Packers going to be consistent? I mean, that's basically just crazy chaos all over. So I'm telling you right now, the only hot take of yours I can vouch for is the second one, because the other 2 I'm just going, I can't buy it.
I appreciate that. At least you didn't completely ridicule my Caleb Williams take. I think that's probably my outlandish one, but if it comes true, you heard it here first on ITL. We'll absolutely clip that on TikTok so we could say we did it. August 14th at 9:30 at night. Chris Connor, it's late on your side of the world, and I appreciate you joining ITL's soft opening of Season 6 and being available for us. Why don't you tell the people where they can find your content and where they can hear not only myself, but other great content creators go in and talk football and other sports with you?
You can check me out. It's the Last Call Podcast. Also on Last Call Chris C on Chris.com, and I'm also on Instagram.com and Facebook, the Last Call Podcast page. I'll be dropping an interview tomorrow with Arrowhead Addicts Price Carter. We'll be talking Kansas City Chiefs, Jacksonville Jaguars preseason game, and previewing the Lions Chiefs game this weekend. And also this Saturday, we'll be having Bellator former bantamweight number 1 contender and Houston's own Rafion Stotts will be joining the show, talking to us about a lot of big things. Check that out once again. And Ernest, looking forward to a great season of 2024 with you and on Into the Lab podcast, talking some football with you.
Hey, Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And again, I am your host, Ernest Silva, Doc E for some of y'all. Go check out the Last Call podcast. Great content. And as always, appreciate you being on the show and appreciate all of you joining tonight. I know we had a large room on Twitter and we have a lot of conversation happening on YouTube and Facebook. So appreciate all of the love and ready to be back for season 6. Again, we have ITL picks. We have ITL Texas edition. We bring on some live guests. Looking forward to the return of Davis Cordova back to the ITL Sports Scientist, as well as Chris Borak and some of our other fan favorites back to the ITL family. Guys, soft opening was a success. The rust is off. We look forward to talking running backs next week and seeing how our first auction league draft went this weekend. Appreciate all the love. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy some preseason football. Good night, y'all.